Chapter 15, what to do with long hair. Hold the horizon steady. Then let it slip the oceans, run already the forest tip. An awful crack runs through the air. You almost thought you saw me. I wasn't there. I have a friend living near Stockholm. Not long after he came to Sweden to live, some active young people from the local Pentecostal church paid him a visit. They intended to invite him to accept Christ and be saved. He invited them in with typical Oriental hospitality. Murtaza was no babe in the bushes and knew very well who they were doing. So he said outright, before you say anything, I want you to know one thing. In my house, I do not permit anyone to say a word against the Lord Jesus Christ. I would rather have you slit my throat from ear to ear than hear a word against him. For he is my Lord and Master. With that he made a grimace and a dramatic cutting gesture at his throat. The eyes of the Christian youth popped out. Their mouths fell open, they got up and left. So far they have never returned. You tied your hair to a branch of the tree so that you would not fall down when you went to sleep. You kept repeating with each breath, La ilaha illallah. You did not hear my breath, nor the sound of my voice, because I synchronized with yours. When your mind began to fail, you thought you heard my voice. The voice you heard was mere illusion, the result of hunger, thirst, the lack of sleep and care. My voice was when you thought you were alone. My voice was when you thought you spoke yourself. Your spiritual exercise brings you no closer to me than do sleeping and breathing. Light and energy are merely the edge of what you can see. Take a step and the horizon will recede. Light and energy are merely elusive places. I am equally distant from every point. That is why you are not interested in what I have to say. You want something with light and power. You want something that will shake you. Only imposter gods and idols have light and power. Only they can shake. You are always running away from me, but even in the house of idols I am there. I am not in the earthquake, fire, or thunder. I am not in the still, small voice. I am not even in the silence. No matter where you look, you think I am behind you. I am in front of the behind you find when you turn. I ate once in his home when he was living with his wife in Sweden working on his doctorate in philosophy of religion. He insisted on eating with a knife and fork, overriding the complaint of his wife. He said they had to get used to Western ways. My other friend, Murtaza, has invited me to eat with him on many occasions. There are plates piled high with rice swimming in sumptuous sauces. There are glasses of nectar, but there are no forks, spoons, or knives. I, God, eat my rice without complaint politely, not soiling my fingers above the second joint, knowing that it never entered his mind to put forks on the table. Even the Prophet Muhammad, peace on him. After all, what did God do before forks were invented? There are places where even God could not measure up to the dress code. Look at my face. It is the face of Haji Bektash, come again in the flesh. It is the face of Musa al-Qadim, the face of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the face of Muhammad, peace be upon them. Look at my face, my beard, my eyebrows. Look and see that I am God Chapter 16, a particle. I am one particle. I move so fast that I am everywhere at once. But you, O human, could detect my truth at last, if I slowed down to speed of light and view. But then I would be neither God nor true. In the story of Abraham, I gave you two obligations: to bless Abraham and to circumcise your boy children. How can you expect to attain to greater heights of spirituality and grace if you neglect even these rudimentary, simple things? Do not try to tell me you are not a Jew. I am talking to you. When was the last time you blessed Abraham? Don't come expecting favors from me if you cannot carry out even my slightest wishes. Bless Abraham, and you will be blessed. I never promised to bless you for going to church or being confirmed. Try blessing Abraham for God's sake. A friend of mine was in London. He joined a group that went to dine at an Indian restaurant. When they came in, they found the restaurant divided into one side was completely filled. The other side was roped off and empty. My friend asked the head waiter, "Can we sit on this side where no one is sitting?" And the head waiter answered, "Can you want to? If you come from India to the West and proclaim yourself God, you will get a following. Because you are exotic. In America, you can get a following. If you smile and make a lot of noise, the charismatic and the hard-selling make a place for themselves. The cacophony of polytheism is perfected in those who smell sweet and are loving. These are all false gods. If they were true, they would rage in powerless. Infinite goodness. Of course, raging figures get no followers. They frighten the meek masses and threaten the powerful. Think about it. Wrath alone can be the hallmark of God in this world. He is therefore hiding in obscurity, shut in a mental institution, or not here at all. I extend now my first proof of deity, my anger. I did not need to mix the languages at the Tower of Babel. You do not understand each other. Even when you speak the same language, I needed to protect myself. I set the cherubim at the gate of the garden to protect myself. I knocked down the tower because you intended to build it up to heaven and destroy me. I knew nothing would keep you from doing it. I am the most vulnerable being in the universe. Look at the list of generations. You cannot find me in it anywhere. That is the most difficult thing about being God. It is so difficult to find my place in the world, in the universe. I am overqualified. You are always blaming me for things going wrong. I only give you what you want. Why do you think the stories of Abraham, Jacob, and Joseph have lasted several thousand years and are still popular? It is because nothing good happened to Abraham before his 86th birthday. Jacob was cheated all his life. And Joseph, most popular of all, had everything go wrong that can happen in a soap opera. Why do you insist on tragedy and then blame me when you get it? My purpose in this world is not to get followers, nor to give a message to humankind. I did those things thousands of years ago. Now I am just looking at the lay of the land. This is a spy mission. I need more information on the day of judgment than what people have done. Because of my infinite mercy, I would forgive all and neglect justice. I need to feel the sting of oppression in order to carry out the verdict. For well over 2,000 years, the human population has toyed with the idea of hell. At first, I thought it ludicrous and horrible at the same time. I never intended a hell. Necessity is the mother of invention. Man invented hell because he needed it. My experience in the field has led me to conclude that he is right. On the day of judgment, I shall give each one what he desires. Most people will go to hell. Imagine what suffering could have been avoided if only a few hundred people in an isolated corner of the world had bothered to be polite. Eternal hell exists because a few people are incompetent and bumbling. You think this is unfair because they did not know I was God. That was their mistake and not mine. Just look at me. Any impartial observer could immediately see that I am God. There is the catch. There are no impartial observers. But I myself, let me put it another way. You imagine that I, God, created the world that is hell on earth. In fact, it was man. Each one will create for himself in the future the same thing that he created in the past. It need not be on earth, but wherever it is, it will be hell, or then paradise. There is only one law that is valid, and only one lawgiver. That law is the Decalogue, and I alone can legislate. When the state legislates a law, it does so on the same authority as a robber making a holdup, the authority of Pope, Bishop, Presbytery, Church Council, or Conference is the authority of the mugger. Luther was right when he said that the state was a necessary evil. It is a necessary evil for the maintaining of the power of princes and politicians. He might have added that the church is also a necessary evil. And for the same reason, the concept of necessary evil is a necessary evil for maintaining the oppression of the powerless by the powerful. I, of course, who alone have the right to power in this world, employ no power at all. Instead, I appear in infinite but powerless goodness. You expect me to intervene, but that is precisely your job. There will come a day when I will but breathe on the world, and then it will burst into flame. The very elements will melt. I alone shall remain the Almighty, the All-Merciful. Chapter 17, my dogs as a child. I always wanted dogs. When I was about 3, we lived for a while in an old plantation house in North Florida. From parts unknown, there appeared a cat and a dog. The dog was a white, furry thing that I called Snowball. He was shot for invading the nearby azalea gardens. I was not older than 5 when my parents gave in and bought a golden retriever puppy. Penny died of distemper. A half-breed Irish setter was my next friend. He was fed ground glass by a passer. By the last dog was already living under a house when we moved into it. I had him the longest, and I even took him to California with me. While we were still living in the house where we found Meshach, we had visitors, Mr. and Mrs. Burney. Mrs. Burney was wonderful. She went walking through the woods with me and Meshach, and I was in ecstasies. No other grown-up had ever gone with me to see all of my favorite hideouts. Meshach was a good dog. We followed a 2-track sand road through the woods and across a small wooden bridge. The water was slow-moving and filled with green algae. Then we went up a small incline into the cornfields. Far on the other side of the fields, the woods started again. The stream widened into a pond, but at that time the dry weather had turned it into a desert. Mrs. Bernie was as delighted as I was to walk on the bottom of the pond on the smooth, dried algae. The bottom was covered with smooth-domed hills and deep valleys. It was filled with gnomes and jinns and fairies. We visited the Bernies once or twice, as I remember. They lived in a little house in South Georgia, just as we lived in a house. They had a well and an outhouse. Mrs. Burney talked about her wasteful neighbor. Just imagine, she said, Katie Bishop pours boiling water over her dishes after they're already washed and rinsed. Mrs. Burney's hot water came in a bucket from a deep well. She carried it into the kitchen and put it in a kettle on the wood stove. My mother did not say a word. We had a hot water heater and rinsed our dishes in as much hot water as we wanted. What would Mrs. Burney have thought about us if she had known? Mr. Burney was a clown. They always went to the same grocery once a week. At the counter, Mr. Burney said something to Mrs. Burney and called her sweetheart. The lady at the counter said, "I didn't know y'all was married. I thought y'all was brother and sister." Mr. Burney shot back quick as a flash. "Oh yes, I call her sweetheart. But whenever she wants me, she just whistles." We all laughed. "I never was so embarrassed in my life," said Mrs. Burney. My father looked at her with a straight face and said, "You shouldn't have whistled then." The old saying about the dog being man's best friend may be an exaggeration. What is certain is that man is not a dog's best friend, even though a dog always comes when a man whistles. I created a veil between myself and humankind, that there might be on its shimmering screen such an image of myself, that they might live in its ecstasy. It was to be a clear window on all the glories of heaven. In their perversity, they refuse the glory, complaining always that there is a veil between me and them. If I should take away the veil, there would be nothing. No veil, no man, no glory, no thing. Only I. They would not see me face to face, for there would be only one face. I am the goal of their restless. I am the cure of their empty stare, the hollow eye, the diminishing return. But when I point, they turn their eager eyes and cold, wet noses to the tip of my finger. When I say, "No, it is there," further on, higher up, they frantically wag their tails, flop down on the earth, and turn up their bellies to be scratched. When I give up and pity, scratch their chests and talk baby talk to them, they call it an answer to prayer. Then there are the other. They lower their heads growling and turn in circles. Have I any right to blame them, since I myself created them? Of course I have. I created them with a choice. And that is the inescapable nature of a choice. For me, what shall be already is. But for them it shall be a flash of lightning in the night, with all of the universe laid clear for an instant, and then creation shall be swallowed up in peace and darkness. In peace and darkness, there am I. When the dog howls, he says, "Who do you think you are better than a dog just because you say other things?" Chapter 18. An evening sky beside the Euphrates. I was visiting a friend who lives in a village on the east bank of the Euphrates River in southeastern Turkey, in the pistachio growing area. The village is somewhat remote, although a battered bus visits there morning and evening. No one has a car, but some have tractors and horses. Almost everyone has a donkey. It is enough to keep even God awake at night. They said they had difficulty with my name. I could not tell them I was God, since we were already having enough trouble communicating. Couldn't you just call me Tom? But that was far too difficult. So they decided to call me Ali Haidar. Ali begins with a sound unpronounceable to all but the Arabs. Haidar begins with another. But what did that matter? Many of the villagers did me the honor of coming to pay their respects. There was a line of visitors almost every day, it seemed. One gentleman listened carefully to everything I said. He eyed me curiously. Finally, he said to the host in a loud whisper, "Is your guest mentally deficient?" "Why, no," said my friend. "Then why does he speak Turkish so poorly?" Some of the young men of the village walked out along the road, a mile or so towards the city, every evening, one evening, just after sunset. As we turned back towards the village, the sky to the north, behind the mountains, was lit up with the most indescribably light and color. It cast a veil of splendor over the whole valley for less than a minute. I never saw it again. But being God, I can enter that splendor at any moment at will. I do so often. I believe in no other God but myself. There is hardly a human who does not the same. But there are two differences. Most people are unaware of their belief in themselves as gods. They consistently act as if they believe they were the only gods in the universe. I, on the other hand, express my knowledge that I am the one true God openly and honestly. The second difference is that their belief, unconscious though it may be, is an unholy delusion. I, on the other hand, truly am God. You who scoff and you who would have me insane because I say I am God, why do you treat with real respect and deference these impostors, and at the same time dismiss my true claims? There are two possible reasons for your attitude, based on the two differences between me and the mass of impostor gods, among whom you live and plot. You have a problem either with honesty or reality. You hold it against me that I am open and honest about my claims, while others shamefully hide theirs. On the other hand, you cannot bear the presence of the one true God. In either case, O human being, it is you who have condemned yourself, and not I. You ask why I am so hostile and aggressive towards you. It is because of your you-ness. If you exist, it is idolatry. But you do not exist, praised be I. There is only I examine, but the vastnesses of myself, the infinite glories of the universe. And when I find you hiding and trembling behind a star, I crush you between two thoughts. I extract the pain, the anger, the separation, and see them dissipate. I alone remain. Chapter 19, a piece of flexible sandstone. Rocks and minerals were my juvenile fascination. I was not satisfied with the books I found in the library. There was one I wanted especially, and we went to the bookstore to order it. It seemed like eternity before it arrived, and I better than anyone know what eternity is like. The book cost nearly $4 of money. I had collected a few cents at a time selling grit newspapers on the street. I must have been in about the 3rd grade when I went into a rock shop for the first time. I spent all the money I had The proprietor was amazed that I could name everything I saw and gave me a stone for each A on my report card. My parents bought me a lapidary kit, and I ground and polished many a bit of colored jasper. I was practicing for the city on jeweled foundations and gates of pearl, which I am now building and am about to reveal in all its glory. What is God but a fool? I have made you, O human, of such fine stuff that you are capable of obedience. Yet you persist in going astray. Should I, who am God, not have known the difference between potential and reality? No, that is not the problem. The perfect human, come fresh from my hand, is made at the expense of thousands of wasted lives. Such a perfect man is worth the expense. Does not the sculptor chip the wasted marble away, and from cold stone draw out an image, almost divine? Does not the potter throw off the crumbling clay from his perfect vessel? Am I not God, a creator, far above the sculptor and artisan? O human being, made of wasted clay and stone, you are of no importance. No, not even of the value of the dung of the cow to fertilize the field. Yet you have taken it upon yourself to destroy the divine image and the perfect vessel come from my hand. Did you not put out the eyes of Samson, saw Jeremiah in 2, castrate Daniel, crucify Jesus, and slaughter Hussein along with his children and companions? Is not the sculptor judged by the statue rather than the chips? The stone chips are good only to be swept away, and the dried clay cast out. So you who charge me for the folly of the world, look again for your own reward.